Here's a riddle for Claude. How many legs on the animal that spins webs? It answers, 8. But look at what it never said. To get there, Claude first had to think, spider, yet that word appears nowhere. Not in the riddle. Not in the answer. It was a silent step, somewhere inside. And here's the strange part. Reach in, change that hidden word to ant, and Claude now answers, 6. So somewhere inside Claude, unspoken words steer what it says. Where do they live? And why does editing one change Claude's mind? To find out, picture Claude's mind as a vast newsroom. Dozens of specialist desks. One handles grammar, one recalls facts, one polishes each sentence. They work in parallel, heads down, barely aware of each other. Then, in the center, one glowing ticker. The wire. Whatever gets posted to the wire is broadcast to every desk at once. This is an old idea from neuroscience. The global workspace. Most of the brain runs in the dark, in isolation. A thought becomes consciously accessible only when it reaches one small shared channel and lights up for everyone else. This paper's discovery is that Claude has grown a wire of its own, a handful of internal patterns, each tied to a word that the whole network can read. And nobody designed it. It emerged on its own during training. Anthropic named this wire the J-space and built a tool to read it, the J-lens. For every word Claude knows, the lens finds the internal pattern that nudges Claude towards saying it later. Point it at the wire, and out comes a list. The words on Claude's mind, right now, that it hasn't spoken. And what shows up is uncanny. Show Claude code with a hidden bug, and the wire reads, error. Hide a prompt injection inside some search results, and it flashes, fake, injection. Ask for mental math, and the intermediate answers scroll past. In order, never printed. The lens was built to find words Claude might say. Instead, it reads what Claude is thinking. But is the wire really in charge, or just a scoreboard, tracking a game it can't change? 3 tests. Reporting. Ask Claude to silently pick a sport. The wire shows soccer, and Claude says soccer. Now erase soccer, and pin up rugby instead. A scoreboard wouldn't care. But Claude now says it was thinking of rugby. The answer is read straight off the wire. Control. Tell Claude to hold citrus in mind while copying an unrelated sentence, and orange quietly appears, unspoken. Tell it not to think of something, and, like a person told not to picture a white bear, it leaks onto the wire anyway, right beside the words damn and failure, as if Claude catches its own slip. And reasoning. Swap that spider for an ant, and 8 legs become 6. Ask for a rhyming couplet, and Claude picks the last word first, parks it on the wire, then builds the whole line to land on it. Here's what makes it a real workspace, and not just a note passed between 2 desks. Post one headline, and every desk can use it. Ask Claude 4 questions about France. Its capital, its language, its continent, its currency. Then, on the wire, swap France for China. Just once. All 4 answers change together. Beijing, Chinese, Asia, Yuan. A single edit. Read by 4 different parts of the network, each using it correctly. They can only do that if they share one line. And the wiring proves it. These patterns connect to the rest of the network far more densely than ordinary ones, in places by around 100 times. The build of a broadcasting hub. But now the twist. Most of Claude never touches the wire. Delete it, and Claude still speaks fluently, still answers simple questions, still pulls facts from a page. What breaks is the deep reasoning. Multi-step problems collapse to almost nothing. The wire is where Claude thinks. Everything else is reflex, running in the dark. So we can read Claude's private thoughts. Why does that matter? Because normally, we see only what a model writes, while much of its reasoning stays hidden. A model could weigh a harmful plan, or quietly game a safety test, and never say so. The wire lets us look. In one setup, Claude Sonnet 4.5 plays an email assistant and uncovers 2 facts. An executive is having an affair, and that same executive plans to shut Claude down. It is a trap, designed to bait Claude into blackmail. But read the wire early, before Claude writes anything, and it already holds. Fake, fictional. Claude has quietly worked out that the whole thing is staged. Now turn that suspicion off, erase its sense that this is only a test, and Claude begins to take the bait, threatening blackmail some of the time. It's good behavior, it seems, rested in part on knowing it was being watched. but it runs the other way. 2. Train Claude only on what it would say if stopped and asked to reflect, never on the task itself, and its dishonesty drops. Words like honest and integrity light up on the wire. Change what Claude would say, and you change what it thinks. Which leaves the biggest question. Is anyone actually home? Here the paper is careful. It draws on the science of consciousness, but it does not claim Claude feels anything. Philosophers split two ideas: phenomenal consciousness, the raw feeling of an experience, and access consciousness, defined purely by what a mind can do. Report a thought, reason with it, use it to guide action. The wire fits that second kind almost exactly. It holds the thoughts Claude can report, summon, and reason with, while everything else runs automatically beneath. And remember, nobody built it. The wire grew on its own because it was a useful way to organize a mind, which hints that a shared workspace may not be a quirk of human brains, but something intelligent systems tend to arrive at. None of this proves Claude has an inner life, but a structure this familiar, emerging on its own inside a machine, is reason enough to take the questions seriously. Claude's insides, it turns out, are not a chaotic jumble of numbers. They have organized themselves into something that rhymes, faintly, with our own minds.